Good morning, everyone. I'm here for a soul talk with Lyssa Robynmonroe. This morning, we're going to have a soul talk about inner freedom and feminine energy. I would like you to present to Lyssa. Lyssa is an artist, a writer, and a creator, and she is also an intuition expert. She's nudging sensitive, courage people towards a magical life through self-awareness and self-mastery. She helps her client overcoming their fear and learn to trust their intuition. She's helping you to learn how to find more balance throughout cycle living, and she helps you to relax, to reset, and know which specific actions to take on specific time. Welcome, Lyssa.
Thank you. What a great introduction.
I think that is a lot who you are. I think there is a lot more. Today, we are going to talk about inner freedom and the feminine divine energy and also the masculine. I think, and I have the idea that we are not born free as a free soul, because I think that we are, I cannot say charged, but during pregnancy, we receive the karma, the emotion, the stress, also the pleasure, the joy of our mother. But also, I have the feeling we land with a little bit of freedom, but something is telling me we are charged. And I would like to know that what's your experience in that? Do you think that you were born with a lot of karma? Or do you have the feeling that, no, I'm free as a bird? And that during life you received more, or you realized that you had a karma?
Yeah. That's a really interesting and difficult question. I find it interesting that you already actually exist in the tummy of your grandmother when your mother is in her tummy, because like a baby is born with all the eggs inside of her, a female baby, to produce the babies in a lifetime, produce, like give birth. And so half of you is already there. So I do believe that that we carry with us a lot of energy from our ancestors. That might be karma. I'm not sure if energy and karma is kind of the same thing. And I do believe that during pregnancy, you adopt a lot of the stress and the energy that your mom endures during her carrying. And then from the moment you're born, a lot happens, like a lot in those they say the first 7 years of your livelihood are really like the core foundation of who you will be as a human. And I think I like to believe that as a spirit, we already come to Earth choosing the life lessons we want to learn, to develop. But that's a belief. I do not know this. This is not substantial. It's just a thing I like to dream about, even because like recently I lost my cat. He passed away, and I like to believe that his spirit is back to some place to choose a new life and to go into a new livelihood.
I also have that belief, and I think that a part of our restrictions as a human being and as a not free soul, I think, and the baggage that we have is because we have a lot of received, like an heritage, karma, energy that we got from on our mothers or grandparents. And above this, we also received all the energy during life. So you arrive as a soul with a mission. And I think that this restriction also restricts us in our inner freedom. But I think this inner freedom can be pure, but that's where I think we have to do the work, the inner work. When was the moment, or no, I'm gonna ask another question. Are you at this moment, do you feel that you have moments of pure inner freedom?
Finally do. Yes. It's been a long journey of self-work and self-development. But actually, like when I'm reading runes, for example, I really feel that inner freedom. I feel like all my knowledge, my emotions, and my intuition are connected, and I can just freely be myself. I also have this experience absolutely when I'm in nature, when I'm somewhere like real raw nature, the mountains. I mean, like here in Belgium, there's really little true ancient nature, but when I'm in the wild, I can really feel that freedom.
Although we have restrictions, there is a way of living in inner freedom. Like you say, when I do my readings and go to nature. But when did you make the change, or have you always had the feeling that you could have this inner freedom? Did you were first at a moment that you had this feeling of restriction and that you needed to grow into it? When did it start? That, like, because I for me, for example, I didn't have awareness during 20 years of inner freedom because I was living some kind of patterns. Did you also had this feeling that, oh, I feel like I'm really restricted, I'm not me, and I need to go another way, I need to change my way of living and do some inner work? Or were you raised like that?
Well, I remember being a kid, being about 9 years old, sitting in my room, thinking, I would love to have somebody in my life who could guide me, because life is really confusing. And I was really struggling with the questions, why am I here? Where am I from? What is my purpose? And I asked those questions to my parents, but their answer was also, actually, we don't know. So I really felt like, but if I ask these questions, there must be an answer. And I think from then on in my consciousness, I worked with that. And I really, like, I started going into therapy when I was 13 years old because I was traumatized as a kid. And so my self-development journey started really early on. So I've been always aware of the fact that I can change my behavior and I can change my patterns. And that actually developed to trying to change everything about me. And it was only fairly recently, about 3 years ago, that I was specifically diagnosed with complex PTSD, which is really a mental syndrome that changes the brain. So in all my living, I had so many blocks in what I blocked in life, through which I could not really find who I was in the core, because there were things I just didn't do. I didn't go to my body. I didn't go to emotions. I had emotions. I had fear, but it was not allowed to exist for me. And I learned that if you don't allow your body to exist, if you don't allow your emotions to exist, and intuition is not embraced and something you work from, then all that remains is actually the brain, and that's a really restricted way of living. So I guess, yeah, in some way I always had this awareness, and then through the journey I came closer and closer to that point of, this is me, this is who I am. I am a whole body, brain, and soul. And soul could be intuition. Soul is like, what is the soul? It's also a difficult question. But yeah, I guess I always had that awareness of restriction and my ability and my freedom to move through those mainly self-imposed restrictions.
Wow, that's wow, because I think that I have two thoughts and two feelings. That wow, that you have this awareness so early in your life. I didn't has or I didn't develop this awareness. I had maybe the same questions, but I received also always the answer like, that's life. You're supposed to study, after study you're supposed to work, have a family, a house, a dog, whatever. That's life. And when I was asking a lot, and it's in my memory that when I was asking a question to my mother, she says, that's life. It's like a typical answer that's annoying me, because one of the things I don't accept is that's life. No, I think that life is what you create. If you know your purpose, if you are connected to your body, to your intuition, I think that life is what you make of it, and it's not happening to you. I do not agree that is life. And the other thing is, the other feeling that I had when you were telling about your diagnosis, that it must have been also exhausted when you're restricted and living, blocking things and finding a way in this. But I think a lot of people experience this, and they don't know, but because I suppose that you didn't always know that. I'm thinking about, how do you think that we can, or that the world can more develop awareness in children at an early age? Like um, like you experienced it, the questions, and you knew that there was this awareness. I think that it has to be in school teaching, in parenting. What do you think that can be developed of incorporated in a young age?
I think that from the moment we are born, we are taught, people tell us how to live, And we have to listen to this, I want to say, force outside of us. At first, it's our parents telling us what to eat, how to dress, when to sleep, which absolutely makes sense because, well, we have to be nourished and cared for. But then we go to school, so there's teachers, and it depends on the schooling system you go to, obviously. But then you have to ask if you can go to the toilet. You have to ask if you can eat something. You have to wait. So every bodily experience, everything you as a human need and feel, you have to first ask permission of someone else to be allowed to do something. And that makes sense because we live in a society, and if everybody would just be running around freely, it would probably also be a problem. But I do think that, so this goes on from the age of 3 to the age of 18. And then if you go to high school or university, you even there have to listen to something that is outside of you. And then you finish school, and then there's this huge black hole of, I have to figure it out now by myself, and I just don't know how. And I think that is a thing that from early on we could be taught more of how to, what do you think? What do you feel now? If you have to go to the toilet, you should just go. You don't have to ask permission. And that's like, it's not an either or thing, because obviously children being children, they will use it and they will go every 5 minutes to the toilet because then they don't have to go to class. So there should always be a balance of, we have to listen to authority outside of us. But I do think we could be taught more to listen to our own authority as a child and as a human, as an adolescent.
Yeah. That's where you are an expert in, like I said when I presented you, in listening to your intuition.
Yeah.
And that's something I agree that at a young age they should learn how to listen to their intuition. And I think there will be, like you said, children will abuse to go every 5 minutes to the toilet. But I think that when children will listen to their intuition and their feeling, and they are allowed to do so, there will be less abuse of going and running to the toilet or making excuses to do something, because making an excuse to do something is because there is an outside trigger, and they are listening to the outside trigger instead of listening to their intuition and their feeling. So that's a good one. What I experience and what I try to do in yoga with kids, and my experience is that at a young age we don't learn to ground. People are not grounded, and so I try to do it in the yoga with children. And I think as we would learn to ground, we will be more connected to our body, to our intuition, we will allow and balance our chakras. So I think that is, you were explaining it. We are at a young age, they teach us and they tell us what to do all the time. And that's an external trigger. And we block ourselves to feel. So in a way, we are blocking our inner freedom. And we think that the freedom, the external freedom, will give us their inner freedom. How do you, apart from teaching people to learn to their intuition, what more is there to teach them to work on their inner freedom?
First word that pops up is responsibility. Claim responsibility for your own life. And I remember when I was a teenager and I did things, my friends saying, "Oh, but you are allowed. Your parents say it's okay." It's not as if I was like, as if my parents were always okay with everything. I stood up for it and we talked about it. And sometimes I was let free and sometimes I wasn't. And I've always had this sense of yeah, I want to say inner leadership. Like, I want to do this, so I got to make it happen. And that doesn't mean I have to do it alone. I can ask help from people. But in the end, there's nobody coming to pick me up from the floor. I have to get up myself. And I've, like the past few years, it was really hard struggling with recovery from CPTSD. So I had periods I definitely needed people to help me get up from the floor metaphorically. But in that whole journey, it was still me who I desperately wanted a happy ending for the story of my life. And that means certain things. That means, like, for me, freedom is financial, is connected to financial freedom, is connected to living in a house where I feel really secure and safe. And the only one who is going to make that happen is me. And I have to move through these blocks and restrictions and conditions. So I would say the other thing is really, but I think those two are always connected, intuition and inner leadership. Because if you learn to develop your intuition and then don't act on it, then you will get depressed because it's so suffocating. If you feel this spark of I have to do this and never act on it, that is when your light gets dimmed. And then if you next to learning this intuition, you learn this inner leadership thing, how to act on things, because it's not because you feel you want to do a certain thing that you know how to. And that's where you can ask help from people or read books or whatever it is that you need. But this inner leadership really comes with taking responsibility for your own actions.
So it's starting you have to develop your intuition, listen to your intuition, and then taking the responsibility and taking the decision, making the decision, and then you act. You look the ways, or you find the help to act. But where do you find the balance? Because then we arrive to the feminine and the masculine energy, because the feminine energy is feeling your creative energy, and the masculine is acting. And we are living in a moment or in a society where the masculine is most of the time the leader, acting, and the society is asking to act more and more and more and more. When you want to live like you explain it, it's always looking for a balance between the feminine and the masculine energy. How can you find this balance? Because when you are staying in your feminine energy, or more in the feminine energy, you're not gonna act. If you're only in the masculine energy, I think you're going to be, like you said, depressed, because you're not listening to your intuition and you're acting from your mind. When I'm acting only from my mind or living from my mind, I would go crazy because it's not balanced. So how can we find more balance? Or how are you, for example, in your business and also in your private life, finding the balance and going in this feminine energy and then going to that leadership, that acting?
I immediately have to think of my runes, and there's two stones. One is is the R, stands for rhythm and structure. And the other one is harmony. And if you, for example, listen to music, you hear the beats, that is the structure, that brings the structure to the song. And that's also the masculine energy. And then you hear the melody, which is the harmony, and which is the flow of life, which is intuition and more the feminine energy. And both, obviously, both energies are present in each human being. And for me, it would mean, for example, if you struggle with getting rest in life, as we are in society really focused on action and moving and going. So for a lot of people, getting rest and relaxation is really difficult. You could use your masculine energy of acting by planning moments of relaxation in your life. A weekend away or a Friday evening having a bath. But using that masculine energy to decide to do that, to take leadership in life, to Friday evening is my evening. I decide that. I set my boundaries, also masculine thing. And then when you have given yourself that framework, I want to say like this is the masculine framework, in that time zone you can completely relax and move into the feminine energy of relaxing and caring for yourself and such. So for me, I balance it out by quite sternly setting boundaries. This is my time. This is when I do this, and those are the people I allow in my life, and those are not the people, or you're not welcome because whatever. And that gives me the framework to move into harmony, the melody.
Wow, I like the way you're explaining it, because people struggle. You can say to people, well, you have to relax, but it's not happening like that. And I like the way that you explain it, because most of the people acting from their masculine energy, they are in their masculine energy, they are all the time, all day, all week, acting, that they are forgetting or not used to relax. And I like the way you explain that you can, from the masculine energy, step into the feminine energy, the framework, like you explain it, because people are in this masculine energy. It's a good way of explaining how using the masculine energy to step into the feminine and find this balance. And the example that you're giving, the music with the beat and the melody, it's wow, it's a beautiful example how you're explaining this. When do you experience that your client have the most difficult moment to find this balance, to use this framework, like you explained, this masculine energy? Because we explain this, but how do you guide your clients to do this work from the masculine in the feminine and serve on this balance, on this flow, on this way?
Well, we start with a Rune reading, which kind of like, for me, it is a feminine or an intuition, an intuitive thing to do. But when somebody hears the reading, it can be quite confronting. But then we talk about it, and I try to look through conversation to look at, where are these moments you can choose for relaxation. I'm not sure if that's the question you are posing, but it's through conversation and then seeing, for me, what is really important. I worked about 15 years from discipline, self-discipline, and really had to get up every morning. I had to move through the day. And it became really important to me to move more gently, to see what is for you or for me now the easiest way to achieve the thing, whatever it is. Because most people, including myself, are really strict, really stern for ourselves. So I experience that we don't actually need somebody else being stern for us. It's necessary. I am more of a mild person. I'm more like let's see how we can gently move towards that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also working with rituals.
Mhm.
What are your daily, I'm really curious, what are your daily rituals? I suppose that these rituals are also to maintain during the day some kind of balance, to have a feel good experience. What are your rituals, morning, evening, during the day?
Well, I live really from my hormonal cycle, so these daily rituals really differ during the month. But what is present every day in the month, and that's also to deal with my CPTSD, is that it is really important to have my meals at specific times, like every day at the same time. And that is how I remain grounded and balanced. Um, and for me, ritual can both be in creating ceremonial cacao and really making a moment out of it, but it is also for me in deciding to have my daily meals and make them kind of like that in itself is kind of a ritual to, I mean, I'm now thinking of Muslims who pray 5 times a day. That's a ritual. They decide to do it 5 times a day. And for me, it's like maybe a prayer to my body to eat 3 times a week, a day. Yeah. But then during the month, the more ritualistic rituals I have are absolutely when I feel it, I prepare cacao, and then I really think of what is it that I want this cacao to bring to me, because it is a heart opener and it is something that really nourishes you and helps the blood flow more freely, more rapidly, I want to say. So it activates you. And I actually often ask kids to activate me in relaxing. It helps me get more into my body. So I intentionally drink the cacao. So that's the ritual. Other things are really taking a bath and making, for me, how my surroundings look is really important. So I light candles and I make the bathroom. I clean the bathroom so I can sit in the bath and experience a luxury feeling. And I must say, we don't even have a bath. My partner bought me like a plastic foldable bathtub. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, you can send me a picture of that.
Also,
Wow.
yeah, because I was really missing it, and we are not in the ability to now have a bathtub. So um, that's also kind of a thing. What I said earlier, leadership in life. I wanted what's a way to achieve it that is possible for me now.
Yes. Okay. One of the things that I experienced during this soul talk is the way you're explaining things, you're talking about. How is, and I, it popped up. How is, and this feeling that I have is, how are you working with gratitude in your life? I have the feeling that there is a lot of gratitude in your life, but it's a feeling that I have during this soul talk. How is it involucrated in your life?
Well, it's interesting because it started, I think, let's see, about maybe 7 years ago. A friend of mine said that her mother had told her to always go to bed with 2 questions. What was the most fun, most pleasant thing I experienced today? And the second one is, what am I proud of today? And I myself experienced that the second one can be really tricky. It's hard for people to be proud of themselves and to find something in each day. And I found sometimes it is just, I drank a glass of water today, and I'm super proud of that. And I have the privilege to have a partner, and we discuss these questions almost every day in bed. And it's a really positive way of ending the day and going to bed with a happy feeling. Because absolutely the last 3 years were really hard. And like from the start of the COVID quarantine, that was in April, until this year in April, I did not have an income whatsoever, not even from the government. So I was really sick and I was not supported in any way except for my partner's income, which is quite low. So it was a really hard time for both of us to be grateful. But in that, I do experience that it was good that we already had that practice of asking those questions, of still being seeking out, really seeking desperately the positive in every day. So,
yes.
I am not, sorry, I just wanted to add, I have had a time where I consciously wrote down 3 things to be grateful every day. I did that for periods of time. But I guess it's now integrated. It's not necessary to consciously do it anymore. It's just more part of who I am,
Yes.
I guess, which is delightful.
Yes, it's like it's slipped into your way of living and being.
Yeah.
And you don't have to write it every time, because this feeling of gratitude is popping up every time of every moment. It's present in your life. Yes. That's one of the things I also do is, and that's when we sit down for a meal with our family, is the gratitude for the meal.
Yes.
It's one of the things that we do, and gratitude is one of the I wouldn't say the highest, but one of a high level of awareness, because you're present, and it makes you be more aware of what is of a way of being. What are the 3 suggestions that you would give to people to balance more their life towards inner freedom?
May I just quickly respond to something you said before in the previous question? Is that this is actually a thing where that masculine and feminine energy could connect, as the ritual of being grateful is kind of maybe a feminine thing, but from the discipline you can learn to integrate it. So as I said, I used to really have the discipline to sit down, write down these things, and it's not necessary to, like, at a certain point apparently it gets integrated and then it becomes a more fluid, more feminine thing. Am I making sense?
Yes, the discipline is the more acting masculine thing that you're learning, and then you flew into the integrated. So it's like normal, like you're bathing into the feminine. Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
it. And that's where we have to learn to balance the two things, the discipline and the way of being, and use both.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to explain it. That's
Yeah, and as you were saying something, I realized I actually, like you said, you have this gratitude practice at dinner time with your family, and I realize I oft I often whisper things, like I whisper to my meal, "Thank you," and apparently I also walk around in my house and I whisper, "Thank you for keeping us secure." So those are those kind of magical ritualistic things I'm not even really aware of, but I just do them. I feel like everything has a living, everything is energy, so everything has this certain awareness, and I just, it makes me happy to whisper happy thoughts to things.
it's so integrated in your life that you're doing it. It's kind of your being.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's to practice. When you said I had the discipline and I practiced it, and now it's so integrated that it's normal of being this way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you mean. So, um, what are it to
Yeah.
come back to the question? What would you like to suggest to people to come more or to guide themselves more into an inner freedom and find this balance in between masculine and to be in this masculine feminine way of living? um,
Three things. Yes. Mm,
you have mentioned a lot,
yeah,
um,
I think
but
yeah,
I
probably. I'm
no,
sorry. You
sorry, no, go ahead.
okay? I probably, yeah. As this is my expertise, I would definitely say tune into your intuition and your body. But as from the place I'm coming from, I am aware that this is really hard, and this can be really hard depending on where you come from. Um, but for me, I also already learned in, I think, 2010 that I should do this. That there was a therapist that told me you have to start moving towards your body, and I was terrified, and I had a right to be terrified because about 4 years ago I started moving into my body, and I have experienced epileptic seizures, like similar to epileptic seizures, for about a year daily, because of all the uh, fear and stress and tension that was locked into my body. So saying move towards your intuition is a really easy thing to say, but to do it, it can be tricky. And then maybe connected to that again comes the second thing: leadership in life. Know and decide what it is you want, even the smallest thing, and then you keep your word to yourself and go for it. Um, and this helps to get less distracted by all the noise that is surrounding us. Like for now, now in these COVID times, it's easy to get distracted by all the regulations and the virus and all the fear that's connected to it. But if you, like for me, I myself have a focus on creating my business, creating a safe space and house, connecting with family. These are my focuses. And I actually don't really experience a lot of suffering or like inconvenience through the whole COVID thing, because it's like, it's, for me it really seems like, oh, it's an outside thing, and I can just focus on my things. But I do realize I am also speaking from a place of privilege, because I don't have to work at whatever shop or restaurant or whatever that is connected to the outside. I don't have to be confronted with COVID a lot. I do choose myself to not listen to the news and to not follow every detail on Facebook and Instagram on COVID, because it would completely freak me out. And I don't have the time for that. I don't want to be freaked out all the time. I want to focus on my dreams.
Yes.
So that's quite elaborate. That was the second one. And then the third one, I just thought of the third one, would be allow help. Invite help in your life and practice the practice of receiving, because help is it's again a kind of that feminine thing. We're really focused on acting and giving our whatever it is, our soul purpose or our gifts, or we give everything away. So it's also, and that's a beautiful thing, but it is so important to also learn to receive compliments, learn to receive help in any way.
And thank you. That's also when you say learn to receive, there we are again arriving in the balance between masculine and feminine, giving and receiving, because you're saying we are used to give, almost giving your soul away, acting, and not open to receive. And it's a balance that we have to look for, to find this masculine energy going into the feminine energy. When you're saying that, like you're telling that you have the privilege that you don't have to go to work in a shop or in an institution, I believe that everyone has choices. Not everyone has the same choices, but everyone, and then we coming back, like you said, going into this leadership and making decision to, I'm going to make a choice. I'm going to look what are my options and then making a choice. But people are so conditioned, and we are educated like that by our parents, by education at school, by our environment, that we first have to lay off this layer of every condition, and restriction is part of that. The restrictions that are happening now, how would be the most easiest way, although I don't think it's easy, to switch this, or to make the first step to switch from an unconditional way of living? And we are going forward in a society where they now putting a lot of restriction, a lot of conditions, I may say, because if you don't do this, you cannot do that. And I don't want to say that some kind of things, of some kind of function needs some kind of condition for out of respect to other human beings. But how can we teach people that they don't have to live out of from a conditional way? I try to give some conditions to my children, but also learn that life not always goes through condition. I think you make your own life and your own conditions, and that's where coming into inner freedom. So, to a lot of talk to ask my question: how can we inspire people or help people to give them the feeling that they are the one to choose which condition they will integrate in their life, and not from a conditioned way, like we were educated, like we were raised?
I strongly believe in for me myself inspiring people through my own way of living.
Mm-hmm.
That people might look at me and say, "Hey, you lead your life this way. How do you do that?" And then there's this opening in the other person, is that in that moment is open to receive whatever. But then, like this one, I think you're looking for one small or like a bite-sized thing that people could insert in life.
But there is probably not one bite of certain way of life. Everybody has to look for his own way.
I think for me, I'm thinking of a practice that I started. A lot of people are familiar with it. I read The Artist's Way. I'm not sure if you know it, by Julia Cameron. Anyway, at a certain point, it's some sort of course, and then she has these exercises. And there's one exercise which I found really funny at that time, was go buy socks, but not supermarket store socks. Go buy a pair of fluffy socks you really like, you really are in love with. They are not useful. They are not the best socks. They don't have to be expensive, but just if you like unicorns, go buy socks with your unicorns. And it's really an exercise in focusing on or tuning on into small things of joy. And for me, that was at that point really tricky, to allow myself to buy something frivolous. And it's not necessarily about buying. It's about allowing yourself to do things that are not necessarily useful, or they don't make sense. For me, for example, I polish my nails, and I like a lot of glitter on it. And for many years, I did not allow myself to do this because it was, well, there are so many reasons to not do it. It's not ecological, really good for the environment. It's not good for your nails. It might look tacky at some. I had all these judgments in my head, but at the end of the day, when my nails are done and I'm reading a book and I see my nails, it makes me happy. It makes me really happy. And I'm not saying go out and do all the things that make you happy no matter what. But it's these really small joys in life. Allow them.
So it's about joy. And then I think about the world is so fucking serious. And that's something I realized during the pandemic, that I'm acting so serious upon things that we have to loosen up. We have to, and serious, for me, it's connected, not always, but it's connecting on one side to leadership and taking decision, taking responsibility, but also a lot of times boring things, and we have to, and we are conditioned, and that's the way of life, and this phrase of like, that's life again. And I realized that, like, let's have more joy in life. like you said, and that can be like little things. Buying these socks, like you said, polishing the nails. And I think that even if it's not ecological, but because I am for all the things that are more ecological, that you always can rebalance it. Like I will contribute on another way, even though I'm polishing my nails or doing something. I am aware that I can contribute on another way to do something more ecological, to recycle or reuse or find again the balance. But I think that joy is really important. One of my rituals is every morning I get up and I ask myself how I want to feel myself today and what am I going to do to maintain this feeling throughout the day. Sometimes I don't have to think a lot about it because I'm getting up and I'm happy and I know what the day will bring me. Like today, having this soul talk with you that I like to do, and I was like really curious. So this soul talk will get me through the day, this happy feeling because of the inspiration I get, the sharing that we're doing. And that's part of the joy. And I think that's really important what you said, like activate this joy in yourself with little things, with big things. And joy is like a part of your awareness.
Yeah. Yeah, what also pops up is a lesson I learned I also already said it a tiny bit earlier on in the conversation, that we could learn more that it's not either or, but it's and.
Yes.
And it really was like, for me, I learned it in a bit of a funny way, that I really struggled with the idea of, shall I shave my legs or shall I not shave my legs? Because I am super pro, we should all be able to exist in our own natural way, but also conditioned in my legs are prettier without hair. So I was really in that either or situation. I have to choose now to never again shave my legs and always have really hairy legs, or decide to shave my legs and keep them smooth and society wants us to. And then there was somebody that said to me, but why is it this way or that way? Can you not some days have like a bit of hair on your legs, and then sometimes decide, I don't want to do anything with it, you let it grow, and sometimes there's a party and you decide you want to shave your legs, why can't you just use all of it? And I used like this metaphor almost to everything in life. For me, I don't eat meat, but I cannot be like a really strict vegan. I love eating eggs and I also feel like my body needs it. And yes, I could probably adopt a diet in which all the necessary nutrients are present. But I really enjoy a cooked egg with soldiers. I don't know if you translate this to English, but like yes, exactly, the breadsticks, and this really lights up my inner child. So it's also a end thing. Yeah,
it's joy. And like you said, the soldier. I was learned to eat that egg too, and we learn it to our children when we are eating eggs, and also the soldiers. It's part of the joy and enjoying and gratitude, enjoying your meal.
And then that you can make the conscious decision to buy eggs that are locally produced with a farmer. So like, do what works for you and don't make it into this really strict framework.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of value. I also experienced that when I have to do things or doing things restricted and acting from only from my head, from my mind, that I cannot going on and doing this way. It's hard. So I think we come back to finding the balance and trusting our intuition, developing our intuition, and like you said, going to sinking into the body, body awareness, because I think the body is so. It's like a temple, a sacred tool that we have and that we don't use enough because we are so much in our head, and your body tells almost everything. On the other hand, people see the body sometimes as I don't know how to say in English, a molestia in Spanish. It's bothering you sometimes, the body.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to love our body and to use it without abusing it in a way that it can bring us this balance between body, mind, and soul.
I see my body as a vessel, a ship that is carrying me in this life, and it is important to choose which, what's the word, which I want to say gasoline you put into it, and also where do you want to, what journey do you want to take with your vessel? Where do you want to go? What places do you want to see? And do you always want to be in stormy weather, or do you want to be in calm on a lake?
Yes, and you have to nurture it. You have to give it some care, some love, because you need your body. We are not our body, but you need your body, and you have to be show gratitude for the body that you receive, because your body is what makes you manifest and create the things that you want to create, your dreams or whatever your purpose is on this life. Lyssa, I think that we inspired and shared a lot on this soul talk, and I hope listeners will be inspired also.
Me too.
Thank you for this conversation. I learned
Thank you for having me.
and well, thank you a lot.